Hi everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. Thank you for being patient, and I'm just gonna wait another minute or two. We were running behind over here, so I just want to make sure that I have everybody here. Thank you for your patience. Like I said, usually we start streaming live at 5:30, but we had some technical difficulties here. So today I am going to be making one of my favorite dishes. A lot of times people ask me what is my favorite recipe, and that's like asking someone what their favorite child is. But in all seriousness and in all honesty, this vegetarian quinoa chili is my favorite dish. I created this recipe just about 11 years ago when my daughter was a toddler. I needed something that could sustain me and was easy to cook and inexpensive, because at the time I was really watching, now I'm still watching money too, but then I was really trying to find inexpensive meals that were delicious, healthy, sustainable, and could feed us all week. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm heating up the pan. I like to do that first, and I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You will see this recipe if you go to morethanmeatlessmonday.com and search for chili. You'll find it there. And the reason why I love this chili is not only is it delicious, it provides a ton of plant-based protein with the quinoa and the beans. Quinoa is actually spelled Quiona. A lot of people find it difficult to pronounce, but it's a really great source of plant-based protein. And the way this is going to work is I'm actually going to cook, and then I will leave some time for questions. So I have my 2 tablespoons of oil heating up right here. And with the magic of television, or IG television, I actually have all of the ingredients prepared. So I have the oil heating up, and the first thing I'm going to do is add onions. To that, I'm going to add celery, and next, carrots. And if you're very pressed for time, you can actually find onions that are frozen. You could use those. Any sort of vegetables, like Trader Joe's has onions, peppers, red peppers, green peppers in the frozen aisle, and this way you don't have to chop them. You can also chop and prepare all of these vegetables ahead of time to make it easier, but it really didn't take me that long. Probably took me 4 minutes to dice the onion, cut the celery, and chop up the carrots. So I'm actually going to bring the camera over here for a second so you can see how good that looks. So I used 2 tablespoons of oil, like I said, and olive oil is the best for this recipe. I personally love this brand. It's not a sponsored ad, but I personally love the Olivier. And I bought this tip from Amazon, and it makes it a lot easier to portion out the oil. Okay, so typically I saute this for 5 minutes, but in the interest of time, I probably did it now for about 2. So I'm sauteing the vegetables. I really try to wait until the onion is translucent, but you don't want it to burn. It'll also, keep in mind, it'll also cook in the broth and in the tomatoes, because you're going to simmer this for quite some time. I have a question. I am making my vegetarian quinoa chili. This is my favorite dish. About 10 years ago, I created this when my daughter was a toddler. I have an old blog, which I'm sort of embarrassed about, but it was when blogging first started, and this was the recipe that I put on that blog. Okay, so in this pan, if you're just joining, I have olive oil, onions, carrots, and celery. Now, to that mixture, I am going to add cumin and chili powder. I combine them all into one dish, so it's less dishes for me to clean up later. And I am also adding minced garlic. So now in this pot, I have olive oil, carrots, onions, celery, cumin, chili powder, and minced garlic. I wish you guys could smell this. It's so fragrant and so delicious. And I'll keep repeating the ingredients because I do have people who are joining a little bit later than we started, so this way people know what we have here. And now, a little tip. Don't do this at home. Don't leave the lid on, but I actually had a hard time with the can opener. So I would suggest at home, make sure you always completely pull off the lid. But since I consider myself somewhat of an expert, I still have it on. So this is 28 ounces of tomatoes. Another pro tip, because you don't want to, sometimes if you have a hot pan, like if you're making sauce or stews or chilies, the pan is so hot and then you pour the tomatoes in and it splatters all up. So a tip is take it off the heat for a second. Make sure the heat is off. I'm switching it to another burner. Then pour the tomatoes in. And then you can bring it back to your favorite burner. I personally love, for some reason, this bottom right burner. And that seems to be everybody's favorite because it's the most used. Let's give it a second. While I'm waiting for this, anyone have any questions so far? Okay. Think of those questions because I'll certainly answer them. How funny would this be if it didn't work? I'll certainly answer them as time goes on. Bear with me. I have no idea what happened to this burner. Okay, so let's move over. You know what? We're flexible here. Let's move over. I'm going to bring you guys a little bit closer. Okay, see? We're flexible. Things happen and we roll with it, right? Okay, so I have carrots. I have onions. I have celery. I have cumin, chili powder, minced garlic, of course the olive oil that we were sauteing everything in, and now I have tomatoes that I added to that mixture. If you see me going off camera, it's because I have some of my equipment set up here. Today I'm doing this without an assistant. Okay, so we're cooking this for 1 minute. And while that's cooking, I want to share another tip with you. Again, I need a new can opener, so typically I would pull the lids completely off. But another tip if you're trying to minimize the amount of dishes that you're washing is you can rinse the beans, drain them, and then store them in the actual can until you're ready. So to the tomatoes, I'm adding some black beans. You really can use any kind of beans. I do find that black beans, kidney beans, or pinto beans actually hold the best shape and texture for this chili. And then adding half a can of kidney beans. And then to that I'm adding frozen corn. This is roasted corn, but you can also use regular corn. You can, if you have extra corn laying around that you cooked but didn't eat, you can always pull the kernels off the cob and then freeze it. And again, that's why I love this chili, because it's actually inexpensive if you look at all the ingredients, and you can prepare it and then have it for lunch and dinner for days. So again, this is my vegetarian quinoa chili. You can find the recipe on morethanmeatlessmonday.com and just search for chili. So let's let that cook for a minute. I'll give you guys another look. Thank you for being patient, everybody. Okay, so here it is. So far we have the olive oil, celery, carrots, onions, cumin, chili powder, minced garlic, tomatoes, beans, onions, and corn. Put you back here.